Welcome to an in-depth look at a critical turning point in global security. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, is the last remaining pillar of nuclear arms control between the United States and Russia. As it nears its expiration date, the world faces a potential return to an era of unchecked nuclear expansion. This is not just a diplomatic dispute. It is a fundamental shift in the global balance of power that could trigger a dangerous domino effect.
To understand what is at stake, we must look at the numbers. New START limits both nations to 1,550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads. It also restricts the delivery systems, the missiles, bombers, and submarines that carry them, to 700 deployed units. Without these caps, there is no legal barrier preventing either superpower from doubling or tripling their active nuclear arsenals overnight. In February 2023, President Vladimir Putin announced that Russia would suspend its participation in New START. While Russia claimed it would still adhere to the numerical limits, it halted the vital verification processes. This move followed years of rising tensions over NATO expansion and the conflict in Ukraine. For the first time in decades, the two nations with 90% of the world's nukes are not talking about their arsenals.
Verification is the heartbeat of arms control. Under the treaty, both sides were allowed 18 on-site inspections per year to verify that the other was not cheating. They also exchanged data twice a year on the status and location of their forces. With these mechanisms gone, military planners must now rely on satellite imagery and intelligence, leading to worst-case scenario planning and an inevitable arms race.
The treaty landscape has changed because it only involves two players, but a third is rising. China is rapidly expanding its nuclear force. In 2023, the Pentagon estimated China had over 500 operational warheads, with projections to reach 1,500 by 2035. Washington argues that any future treaty must include Beijing, but China remains hesitant to join a framework that limits its growth, while the others are already at peak capacity.
Both the US and Russia are already in the midst of trillion-dollar modernization programs. The US is developing the Sentinel ICBM and the B-21 Raider, while Russia has debuted the Sarmat heavy ICBM and Poseidon nuclear torpedoes. Without New START, these modernization efforts shift from replacing old tech to expanding total capacity, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of escalation.
The nuclear domino effect refers to the risk that as the US and Russia abandon limits, other nations will follow. If India sees China expanding, it will grow its arsenal. If India grows, Pakistan will follow. This chain reaction could destabilize the Middle East and East Asia, ending the era of non-proliferation and making nuclear conflict more likely due to a simple math of increased probability.
Technology is making the situation even more precarious. Hypersonic missiles can travel at 5 times the speed of sound, drastically reducing the warning time for leaders to decide if a launch is a false alarm or a real attack. In the Cold War, leaders had 30 minutes. With today's tech and no treaty-mandated communication channels, that window could shrink to less than 10 minutes. Is there a way back from the brink? Diplomats suggest a strategic stability dialogue that includes new technologies and a wider range of participants. While the 2026 deadline is fast approaching, some believe a short-term technical extension or a less formal executive agreement could maintain the 1,550 warhead limit until a comprehensive new treaty is drafted. However, this requires political will that currently seems absent. The expiration of New START on February 5, 2026 marks a crossroads. One path leads to a world of transparency and controlled competition. The other leads to a multipolar arms race with no rules. As informed citizens, understanding these dynamics is the first step toward advocating for a more stable global order. The countdown has started. What kind of world will we see on February 6th?